Hello everyone and welcome to the Gunpla Network News. As always, I'm your host, The Spicer, and today's special report is brought to you by none other than Canadian Gundam. Canadian Gundam is your one-stop shop for all your Playmo and Gunpla needs here in North America. After checking out their catalog and heading to checkout, don't forget to use the promo code Gunpla Network for 10% off. If you've been keeping up with the news, you know Bandai's Gunpla Expo is happening and a lot of images have come out. Not necessarily directly new announcements, but things we can expect to see most likely. We've seen a lot of prototypes, so ideally they'll come out within the next year or so, maybe a little bit longer, but we're going to cover them all here in the special report because there's a lot to cover. Now you can find that news as soon as it drops over on gunplanetwork.com. This is as soon as it comes out, this is where it goes, and then we put it on the video version of the news later. So if you want to be the most up-to-date you can be, this is where you'll find it. You can also find content from our website, such as my review of the Real Grade 00 Riser, and updates on Canadian Gundam. But the news is what we're here for, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Starting us off with the SD line, there's a new kind of either continuation or an entirely new SD series coming out. SD Sengoku World or SD World Heroes, something along those lines. And it still has a very similar aesthetic with the SD Sengoku Sengetsudan series, but maybe slightly more ornate, I suppose. But this is the Nobunaga Gundam, set to release in April of 2021 for a price tag of 770 Japanese yen, and if you couldn't tell, this looks to be based on the Epion, and it looks very good, but I do like it. It is very menacing, gives you very Nobunaga-esque vibes, not even really depending on which iteration in fiction you kind of think of, but very gives you that Nobunaga feeling. We also have the new announcement as the SD Goku Gundam, set to release in April of 2021 for a price tag of 660 Japanese yen. And this looks like it's probably based on the God Gundam. Maybe. It's kind of hard to tell, honestly. But like the little red details down here are probably going to be stickers. Same thing on maybe the knee and the side skirts. The blue, probably in the chest is going to be a solid piece, but maybe in the shoulders and down here on the skirt, probably going to be a sticker as well. Very cool looking, this bow staff, very cool. I like this really big V-fin as well. That's not necessarily crazy for the line, but that is really big proportionally speaking. This tail is pretty neat. So maybe this is like a Barbados. Like I said, it's really difficult to tell with this one. It's God Gundam Barbados, one of the two. The tail gives me very Barbados-esque vibes, but it is cool looking. Once again, that gold, if this comes in the regular Bandai gold and you put a little love into it, it's gonna look phenomenal. We also have the new announcement of the SD Benjamin Gundam, set to release sometime with a price of we don't know. But I do like that it seems kind of like we're maybe getting kind of theme, SD, especially like these kind of SDs, always take a vibe. A lot of it's always like Romance of the Three Kingdoms, traditional ancient Chinese armor, Japanese armor, depending on which iteration you're looking at. But this pirate one is really cool. I'm digging this. The hat looks great. Oh, this is a Victory Gundam. I just realized that. The shoulders and the back, I think it's the Victory 2, if I'm guessing. I want to say that's maybe right. Let me know in the comments below if I'm actually wrong about this, but it is definitely Victory-esque. If it's not the Victory 2, I'm pretty sure it's the Victory 2, but the guns look cool. This whole motif, this is grade A pirate motif right here. Like, Crossbone is somewhat jealous, I suppose. We also have the SD Sergeant Gundam, set to release in April of 2021 for a price tag of 660 Japanese yen. It is cool looking. It is a big departure, and it kind of goes back to being themed in a way. Like the Benjamin was a pirate, the Nobunaga was Nobunaga. The Goku Gundam was, I don't even know. But this is very different, and it looks really cool, actually. It's a really interesting take. You're using a suit that is really not all that used or really cared for, the Verde Buster. They did it right. Yeah, I have to say that. I mean, it's different, but it looks good. We also have the new announcement of the HGUC Nightingale. We don't have a release date or a price yet, but being the Nightingale, it's going to be big, and it looks like it's a promise that's going to be able to keep, because the display version of this, the prototype, is massive. I mean, this case here is just so big. It's big, it's gonna be expensive because it's super big, but this is definitely a fan favorite. Maybe not as much as the Sazabi, but it is up there, and it's really exciting to see this. I mean, look at all those thrusters, and this will probably be articulated. The back skirt might be slightly articulated. The tanks will probably be slightly articulated. It just looks so menacing, and it really fits. We also have the new announcement of the high-grade After Colony Death Scythe Gundam. No release date or price yet, but we do have a prototype, and it's looking good. I have to say, and it looks good. They had the prototype out on display, and just even getting in close here, you can kind of see some of the face detail. There's going to be the groove down here. These look to be separate pieces, so we might actually get the yellow trim there instead of having like a sticker. Looks kind of the same here. Looks like that's going to pop through. This will have some articulation, double joints right there. Then we see the colorized promotional images, and it looks great. I mean, trim that, and that's it. That's really all you need to do. Maybe some slight panel lining on the legs, but it's phenomenal. It looks super, super good. We also have the high-grade Iron-Blooded Orphans Gundam Grimoire. And I'm glad the IBO is still bringing things out, because this looks crazy. I mean, if we kind of got the Calamity War story just through model kits, I'd be okay with this, because some of these designs are just killing it. Like, what weapon is this? I don't even know, but it's cool looking. And then you've got this really unique head section and these extra little arm portions. It looks great. And as we get into the colorized images, it really gives you a better version of what we're looking at. I mean, this weapon looks great. The head is so crazy, but it looks so good. The back, these will probably be somewhat articulated. Moving the head's probably going to be nigh impossible, I'm guessing, but it just looks so cool. I think it's okay. In more HGUC news, we also have the HGUC Zaku 2 mass production type. No release date or price. Seems like it's a pretty standard Zaku, and this is going to be a weird pull, but it looks like it's actually adopting a lot of the mechanisms the Robot Damashi figures used for their anime version, which just had more articulation and things. But you see there looks like a ball joint in there, then you're getting another ball joint here for extra movement, which looks really good on both. The gap's a little meh, but it's not terrible depending on how you pose it. Looks like the shoulder might kind of have like a slide mechanism. It's pretty much the only angle we got of it, unfortunately. But we can assume that this is going to pull out. That's pretty standard. Double jointed here. Looks like kind of a joint here, joint here. Looks like this one seems to be bent on that bottom joint, this one on the top. Probably double jointed knees that are going to stop probably right around there, maybe a little bit higher. Some side skirt movement here we can kind of see. Got the heat axe, got the bazooka. We also have the high-grade Cosmic Era Dagger L with no release date or price tag. We are left kind of wanting, but this is really nice. I like that they're keeping up with the seed line still. You know, they've got some other kind of probably more exciting announcements for the seed line, but this is cool. This, I want to say, was more towards the end of Seed, more so Seed Destiny. And if you're wanting to kind of army build a grunt for any of your Destiny stuff, or even Seed stuff, because it works into the first original series, it looks fine. It would work either way. We also have the high-grade Universal Century RX-105 G Gundam, set to release in April of 2021 for a price tag of 6,600 Japanese yen. It is, if you're excited for the Hathaway's Flash movie, this is the other half of what you're seeing in terms of the Penelope, kind of the alternative, or not the alternative, but the counterpart. It is something that it's big, it's bulky, it's going to take up a ton of space, you know it's going to be pricey, but if you like big HGUC stuff, this is going to be right up your alley. I mean, look at that head sculpt, look at how sick that is. We also have the new announcement, the P-Bandai high-grade Universal Century HGUC Pale Rider Cavalry. We don't have a release date, we don't have a price, but we have a prototype. You also have a very Mark II-esque rifle and shield, and of course the beam javelin. Looks really good. We also have the new announcement of the P-Bandai high-grade After Colony Gundam Geminus 02 Land Unit Expansion Set, and it is one of the more interesting ones, I have to say. I'm definitely, as far as the Geminus goes, it doesn't look bad, but this is one of those that I don't remember making it far enough into the manga to remember this, if it existed, but there's a lot of other stuff from that storyline that I'd way prefer to see, even if it is P-Bandai. Keeping to the 1:144 scale, we have the real grade Wing Gundam anime or TV version. With no release date or price tag, we are kind of left a little out in the cold of that, but this is beautiful looking. This is one of the best looking Wing Gundams I've ever seen. But just looking from the articulation here, looks like the legs have some kind of swing forward gimmick, which isn't necessarily really all that unique for the real grade line. This is crazy though. And of course, I would be remiss in not mentioning probably the more popular of the real grade releases or announcements, the real grade High New Gundam. No release date or price yet, but this is one of those, once again, much like the Nightingale before it, maybe not as fan favorite as the new Gundam, but it's really close. Like, it looks great. It looks good. I've always been more partial to the new Gundam myself, but I know this is going to excite a lot of people. This is definitely, you know, a lot of people have this and the new Gundam tied pretty much. You know, they're very, very similar suits. They're pretty much the same basic frame with adjustments to where things are, different weapons, some minor differences here and there. And as you can see, I mean, you got these two massive fuel tanks, you got the bazooka back here, you got these massive binders that hold the fully articulated funnels, which looks, I mean, this looks killer. This looks really good. Now into the 1/100 scale with the 1/100 Calamity Gundam from Gundam Seed. No release date or price, but we do have a nice looking prototype and some promotional images, but we don't know what this is. We don't know if this is, we just know it's a 1/100, so this could be a no grade. It doesn't say Re 100. Maybe it's just the sign wasn't complete, so they kind of just had to make this one. It just has this very mean, aggressive feel. It looks good. I mean, it's really hard not to kind of assume that some of this is, at least, if it's not Master Grade, maybe Master Grade inspired, right? A lot of the surface detail here looks kind of similar to what you would get on like the 2.0 Freedom, maybe not quite as much, but it's close. And if you're gonna do something like the Calamity, you're probably not gonna go as hard in it, because let's be honest, the Calamity was probably like pretty low on the list of people's favorites from Gundam Seed, but it looks cool. Now into the Master Grade 1/100 Dom 2021 upgrade. It's going to come out in 2021, we know that, but we don't know a price tag, but this is just an updated version of the Dom. If you kind of thought this was necessary, this is going to be right up your alley. It looks good, pretty faithful to the Dom. Oddly enough, doesn't look like you really need any kind of like movable shoulder gimmick here, which is kind of cool. It'd been nice to kind of show it off a little bit, but I mean, this is a pretty reasonable pose for a Dom. And when I was talking quick succession, Bandai is following up the Master Grade Dynamis and Curios with the GN005 Gundam Virtue. No price tag or release date as of yet, but we do got a prototype. We did have a prototype out at the expo. We have kind of a sketch which looks really good, looks like the Virtue. And we have the prototype. Surface detail seems to on point. Probably have the same LED gimmick. The GN drive will probably be the same construction the Dynamis and Curios have had. We also have the Master Grade Jin prototype with no price tag or release date. We just have the prototype and some promotional images, so it is really nice to see a good Master Grade treatment of it here. Yeah, look at that, look at that, look at that Freedom 2.0 working right there. It'll be interesting to see if it actually uses that frame or if it's more akin to the Zaku. Not that there's like a huge difference, but there's, noticeable enough differences, you could kind of make a case for either for this kit. It just looks so good. But this colorized version, this has me so hype. I mean, give me more Master Grade grunt suits. That's all I gotta say. This looks so good. Like the big sword, great. Oh god, it just looks so good. The Jin is such a good design. And of course, we weren't gonna get away with Master Grades exclusively being regular release. Of course, there's gonna be a couple of P-Bandais in there. Starting with the P-Bandai Master Grade Gundam Mark V. No release date or price tag yet, but look at that blue beast of a mobile suit. This is one of those suits, once again, you're either going to like it, or you're just not going to care at all. And this looks really good. Definitely see, the early starts of, the Silver Bullet, the Dovin Wolf, the Silver Bullet suppressor here on these legs, the torso. We also have the P-Bandai Master Grade F90 Unit 2. No release date or price, but it is the F90 in a purple color scheme, which kind of makes me think very similar to the Geminuses from the G-Unit side story for Gundam Wing, as pretty much the same thing. Unit 1 is a more traditional Gundam color scheme, Unit 2 is like a dark blue, in some iterations purple, but this is actually purple. And it looks good. I mean, the F90 is a really cool looking design, and I think it pulls this color scheme off quite well. We didn't have a lot of images for it, but, it still looks cool. We also have the P-Bandai Master Grade Gundam F90 Mission Pack Type Jupiter Battle Specification. With no release date but a price tag of 2,200 Japanese yen, we see this thing boosted up and have the very similar looking shot lance that we would later see the Crossbone Vanguard use. We also have the Master Grade Gundam Base Limited RX-78-2 Gundam Perfect Gundam version anime color release information coming out of this expo, and that is one of the longest titles I've ever read. Set to release in December of 2020, so pretty soon, for a price tag of 3,300 Japanese yen, and that's exactly what you'd expect. The most anime accurate version of the RX-78-2 you're probably gonna get. We also have the P-Bandai Perfect Grade Unleashed 1/60th RX-78-2 clear color version. This is, I believe, maybe just the external armor components, if I remember correctly, because the price tag itself at 4,950 Japanese yen is kind of reasonable and probably a little too low. So I think this is just the external armor set, so you can see all of that really nice detail that the Unleashed version has, which also brings us to the Perfect Grade 160 Unleashed RX-78-2 with a release date of December 19th of 2020 for a price tag of 27,500 Japanese yen. So this is the full unit itself, everything from the ground up, not just the armor set like the clear version was. And I mean, it looks good. We did a special report kind of looking at it in more detail, but as you can see, all like 53 hatches open, and it looks really cool. I mean, this is gonna be the ultimate version of the RX-78-2. And now some of the oddities of the show, with the Real Experience model RX-0 Unicorn Gundam. No release date or price tag, but this is a bust statue kind of thing. Oh, actually, now here is a scale. So yeah, pretty big. I mean, I have to think this is the real grade, so the Master Grade's probably gonna come like around this mark somewhere-ish. Might be giving it too much credit, but it's gonna be bigger. And this is gonna be a big boy. And lastly, we have the 1/48 scale RX-78 F00 bust model kit. No release date announced so far, but a price tag of 5,280 Japanese yen. This is, as you would expect, the walking version of the RX-78-2 in a bust form. And that has been it for this special report. In those comments down below, let us know what you're most excited to see come out and what you're most excited that got announced. Thank you for stopping and taking the time. Check out our website if you want the most up-to-date news. But otherwise, we will see you back here on the Gunpla Network News. And as always, friends, keep on building.